All right. So instructions for the GD is following. So you would be having 3 minutes to think. The case would be pasted in the chat section, and you would be having 3 minutes to think. Then you would be having 15 minutes to discuss and 1 minute to conclude. Also, to tell you, there would be no extra time or separate time given for conclusions. So in total, you would be having 16 minutes to speak, including 1 minute of the conclusion time. Are the instructions clear?
Yes.
All right. So I'll just paste the case in the chat box. And your time starts now. So the name I'm announcing, only those people would be participating in the GD. Trisha, Shashank, Vishesh, Nishant, Riya, Abhinash, Abhigya, Anjali, and Rakshit. Only these people would be participating in the GD.
Uh, Hi everyone. So starting the GD, I would like to structure this GD a bit because there are four parts of it. First would be how to actually enter into the market through joint ventures, acquisition, or new subsidiaries, then the competitive analysis, then the sales and the marketing plan, and then the logistics supply. So coming to my first point, since Medicare is already established company in different countries, so when it is entering into a new international market, I believe that acquisition and joint ventures would be the two best options instead of opening a new subsidiary, since we need to analyze the market and how actually existing products are performing there. And coming to the competitive analysis, I think we should focus more on the quarter five forces and how they are actually going to affect the situation. So leaving the floor to other questions.
Also,
Yeah,
coming up from adding on to Abhigya's point, acquisitions can also be a potential add-on to the same because Medicure is a leading pharmaceutical company, and just like ventures, acquisition can also be a key role to play because it's not only about vertical integration but also the horizontal diversification of the industry. Like they want to expand the supply chain strategies for them because they are entering the market. They can look forward to acquisitions of various distributor companies, various middlemen, new age startups that have come up like Pharmacy and Apollo Pharmacy and various other TrueMeds and all. So this will help them gain market share by doubling down onto the supply chains.
Agreeing to my
Yeah.
co-participants, I would say that acquisition would be the best strategy that we can consider here, because we are entering a new international market, and establishing a completely new logistic and supply chain could be a difficult task going forward. So going with a acquisition a strategy wherein we can take a company with a well-established channel can be a better way going forward.
As there
Adding
is
on to
as
what
there is like
my
the most of
co-panelist
the
said,
medical back.
I would like to go ahead with what my co-panelist said. And acquisition is the best thing. Coming to the competitive analysis, as one of the co-panelists suggested about the Porter's five forces. So I would like to suggest that coming like analyzing the competitive forces which are existing first in the existing market over there would be the best thing which we can do, because as we are currently unaware of the market situation, that will be the first thing. Apart from that, threat of new entrants which can be possible, just like Medicure is entering a new market, there can also be ways for some other companies to enter. Apart from that, the threat, the bargaining power of supplier and the buyer can also be checked thoroughly, and as per that the pricing and various other factors could be considered, and the suppliers can also be thoroughly checked through, and they can be multiple suppliers which can be searched for.
As medical care in most of the countries is very expensive, as we already know, and like most of the people cannot afford like the basic necessity also. So one of the thing that we can look into is that like the value based care that the people can get. Okay, so most of the time the service providers, they are actually charging a large amount of money for that, but the people are not getting the value for their money, even though like in the country like US, which has the 4.4 trillion dollar medical market, which is higher than the GDP, almost equal to the GDP of India. They don't have enough like they don't cannot afford the value of their medicines that they are having. So one of the window we can see is like by reducing the waste and having a better supply chain on that. So that will be done.
Actually, coming back
Adding on to your point,
department, I want to make some precise point what Sasank has already mentioned. So while doing the marketing and sales, we need to first properly analyze, do the proper market research. While since we are already a leading pharmaceutical company, so while moving to a new land, we need to properly do the demography research. What is the potential earning potential of the people living in that country? And since we are going with the acquisition model, so we'll have a lot of data of the earlier company. We can utilize that data properly and figure out where we can place our product. And also we need to add one financial model where we can make the people to afford our products in the EMI model. Suppose that is very costly, it's not affordable for now, but we can do something like what Bajaj Finserv had done, like in the pro credit model.
I would beg to differ from the point recently mentioned. So we have to focus on the marketing and sales part, and many of the these pharmacies have hundreds of products to display on their shelf. So Medicare has to look forward to find its place on that shelf and to look forward onto that shelf. And for that, they have to gain the market share. And for gaining that market share, they have to either lucrate the chemists or the doctors that would be prescribing them. Like they have to tie up with the doctor clinics, or they have to make their distribution margins very lucrative for the chemists.
I would
Actually,
completely
coming to
agree.
the
I want to add.
demographics point of view, I would like to say that since the company that we are acquiring has already done their segmentation part very well, we need to focus more on the targeting part and how we can gain the market share through analyzing the market and through actually seeing what is the cost of acquisition of one customer and how we can make profit out of it. And as one of my co-panelists said, that they are not getting the value that they wanted. So how we can leverage that pain point of other competitors that we are having, and then we can analyze the expected growth and then we can position our product.
Adding on to that, I would also like to suggest that not just gaining new clients and customers and doctors and medics, I would say there must be a huge existing customer base which would also be present of the company that we have already acquired. So focusing more on retaining them as well as gaining more clients at the same time would be the best strategy which we could focus on, and that can be done by various measures like cross-checking the incentives which were already given, or various other things, such as if there was any error in logistic part, if the products were reaching to the chemist and druggist and all the doctors as samples in the proper time.
As most of the countries actually they are having their own insurance based medical healthcare system. So like as we are going to launch our product in a new market, so then there should be a kind of like we should take into consideration the existing policies that we are having. Along with that, like the policies would cover or would not cover the price of our medicines. But the thing is that like if we are providing something for a reasonable cost, like in a value based price, then even though like it should come, if a person is like thinking about buying it outside their insurance, then they should be able to afford it. Like the main thing is like the affordability that we should think about that. Yeah.
I think since we have already talked a lot about the sales and marketing, we can go on to the logistic and supply chain.
Actually, just to differ from your point, we have talked about the marketing plan, but the sales plan is still left. So coming to the positioning point, that is the points of difference and the points of parity that we need to analyze. The points of difference would, I believe, would be majorly on the value that we are going to provide. And as one of my co-panelists said, that we are already having medicines and pharmaceutical products from insurance and everything. So we need to focus more on the B2B and B2C channels as compared to other stuff. And again, other than that, the sales channels that we are going to and the SKUs that we are going to launch would play a major role in gaining the market share. If we are going to sell it on the retail, and if we are going to sell it to the corporate as a insurance plan as such, if we are going to sell it to the hospitals and other things.
As a part of the sales strategy, one thing that is important is how are the doctors prescribing our medicines. Even in the Indian market, it also depends that your medicines are in the market, running in the market. It also depends that you also see that the doctors are prescribing. So I think that could be a sales strategy that we could apply, that we could take into consideration the opinions of doctors before putting our products into the desired market, and then going forward promoting them using those channels.
Also, considering that the company is an international company, there are various regional needs that are differing from the country to country. Like there are various medicines that suit some regions and that does not suit some other regions. So they have to potentially market their medicines and offerings in such a way that they are locally offered and they are catered to the new market that they are offering to.
Also, I would like to say that as one of my co-panelists mentioned, like working into B2B and B2C market. So these are different channels which we'll be going through, and there needs to be a different setup which we would require to cater to these markets. So when it comes to B2B, an efficient logistic and supply chain is necessary, and when it comes to B2C, we would also need to create website, just as we know that MedPlus and all the other apps are creating website for B2C, means by which they are uh, providing the medicine directly delivered at home. So these kind of channel would also be helpful in increasing the sales, and it would eventually benefit the company.
Adding to the B2B sales strategy, I want to add that we can collaborate with many corporate companies where we can provide them the free checkup, or they have any doctor who available in the company who does the checkup for them, and we can collaborate with them and asking them to prescribe our products. So definitely, if the company is paying or they are assured under the company insurance, it will be very helpful for us to sell our product. We don't need to push our products over there or need to ask some doctors to sell our products.
But as far as the conventional pattern of prescribing medicine and selling is concerned, I believe that it is doctors who play a major role in prescribing certain medicine. If your doctor does not write the name of the exact brand of medicine which needs to be prescribed, I believe there is only a rare chance of a person buying a substitute. Like if I am a doctor and I am prescribing a paracetamol from certain company, the customer would definitely want the exact same medicine and not the substitute of it. So I believe that I would like to differ on this point.
One of the
That
thing like that we are missing out on, that like most of the countries like USA and all, they are actually having a wide diversity of people, from the LGBTQ to the African Americans to the Indians and all. And like they're like every medicine will not work on all of them. Like, so as we have seen that some of the medicine will work on African Americans differently, and on the Caucasian people differently. So that factor can also be taken into account while marketing our product, and we can actually emphasize on what kind of diversity that we are bringing into our products and all. Yeah.
Actually,
I would
adding
like
on
to,
to that,
yes,
yeah, please, Nishan, go ahead.
yeah, I would, if we are done with the discussion on sales and marketing, I think we are really lacking on the concept of logistics and supply chain. So I would like to go forward it by, I think we need to target the stores that are near to the hospitals, because if we study the Indian market as of now, most of the stores that are near to hospitals have a larger sales other than the medicals that are away from the pharmacies that are away from hospitals. So I think that that could be our target channels where we can go for by providing a proper supply chain uh,
And
for our.
also, I would like to also add on that as far as the logistic and supply chain is considered, not making the logistic and supply chain very complex would be a good idea. Like making it complex when wherever and whenever it is necessary should also be considered first. Rather than abruptly creating a chain, because this would also save on cost and also increase the margin that would be the company would be having, and as many intermediaries are involved in the company would get less profit margin, and also there that would be an unnecessary increase in cost of the supply chain. So I believe studying the market before and the supply properly, and then planning the logistic and supply chain would be necessary for that.
I would
Actually,
like to differ. Please.
setting up the proper method inside the company would be a better option. For example, if we are setting a lean sigma strategy to reduce the waste and to improve the efficiency, that would be the better part. And applying the DMAIC approach, that would be defining the product and measuring how do we want to actually excel into the market, and analyzing and improving and controlling the model would be through this proper model, we'll be able to expand our product and gain the market share very effectively.
Yeah, so one of the thing like I would like to differ from is like we have to find some place near to the hospital, like that kind of thing. Okay, but that the kind of case cannot be every time in our favor. So we need to base, like one of the thing that we can do is that we can put cloud-based medical store. So for example, this is one of the ideas. Like rather than
I
going to the stores and all, like we would like at the palm of our hand we can with the prescription we can upload, and we can directly the store can provide them on the on the cloud basis. We
So
don't need any
as we are reaching the end of the time, I would like to take this chance to conclude this. So coming to the discussion, when we started with uh, market entry strategy, wherein we agreed and we had diverse opinions, which was basically upon whether to go for acquisition or whether to create a new subsidiary. So many of us agreed for the acquisition part, and when we came towards the competitive analysis, we thought about the STP, and then targeting medicals and doctors, reducing waste, effective supply chain management, researching the demography. Then there would also be the early data available, which would be really helpful uh, for uh, for the competitive analysis. Then we came towards the sales and marketing thing, where we said that various financial models can be used. One of the panelists also came with the Bajaj Finserv example, which was not agreed by some. We spoke about the medical and insurance policies. The reasonable cost would be a good idea. Then one of the panelists also mentioned about the B2B and B2C channels, the SKUs, the hospitals which can be targeted, whereas the other apps and websites can also be formed to cater to the B2C market. Apart from that, the free checkup in the company by various doctors, targeting diverse communities, and working on the diversity also being spoken by. And when we came about the logistic and the supply chain, I believe we spoke about the going with the procedure with the lean method by following the DMAIC principles, then going with the logistic and minimizing the supply chain, avoiding the unnecessary expansion of the supply chain, which would also give us a good margin, a good profit margin, and eventually we can work on that accordingly. So this is, I believe, would be the conclusion.
All right. So, Abhilasha, would you like to take up first the feedback part, or should I go ahead?
So I'll start.
Cool.
Okay. So I'll start with Abhigya. As you started the topic, it was a great move because the person who started the topic, it gives a scope to the whole group to the JD, and also it will work as a brownie point for you. And the part that you mentioned, analyzing and targeting the audience and B2B and B2C with the insurance plan, that was good. But you can also start with, like, if you're going for a market, for a new market, there are some models and there are analysis, because you are entering in a market where already the players are there. So you can start with that. Moving on to Rakshit, I like your point in the way you enter in the GD. It was clean. And Sashank also, same point. For Nishant, your conclusion part is, sorry, not Vishesh. Your conclusion part was good, as you summarize with all the points, all the points that each member have mentioned, which is a great thing, because because during the GD we somehow forget what the other person is mentioning, and you did that. For that, you'll get a brownie point, and that's it.
All right. So it seems that if Abhilasha would have been in the panel, so at least two or three would of you would have been selected. But to be honest, if I would have been in the panel, मैं नहीं लेता एक को भी. The reason being कि scope तो कहीं और ही चल रहा था. Scope of the case was totally left behind. है ना, मतलब you were kind of giving your own fundas कि हम अपने वो क्या स्टॉल्स लगा देंगे, B2B मार्केट कर देंगे, क्लाउड कुछ बना देंगे. मतलब द थिंग इज दैट कि अगर तुम पहली लाइन ही पढ़ोगे, अ लीडिंग फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी मेडिकेयर इज कंसिडरिंग एक्सपैंडिंग इट्स ऑपरेशन इनटू अ न्यू इंटरनेशनल मार्केट. सो हु विल डिफाइन द इंटरनेशनल मार्केट भाई? हम मिडल ईस्ट में जा रहे हैं, हम वेस्टर्न नेशंस में जा रहे हैं, या किसने ये एजम्पशन लेने को बोला कि मेडिक्योर इज अ इंडियन ब्रांड? यू कुड हैव आल्सो सेड कि मेडिक्योर इज नॉट अ इंडियन ब्रांड एंड इट इज प्लानिंग टू डू एक्सपेंशन इन इंडियन मार्केट. सबसे पहला तो एक ये लॉजिक लेके चलना होता है ना कि अगर हम किसी इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में जा रहे हैं, जब तक हमें पता, मतलब मैं कल तुमसे ये बोल दूं कि फॉर एग्जांपल विशेष, आज तुमको मैं एक स्ट्रैटेजी बनाने को देता हूँ, तुमको इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में जाना है और स्ट्रैटेजी लाके दो, तो इजंट योर क्वेश्चन शुड बी कि भाई मेरे को इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में कंट्री का नाम या किसी रीजन का नाम तो बताओ, तभी तो मैं स्ट्रैटेजी दूंगा. तो डिडंट एनी ऑफ यू केम अप टू दिस थिंग कि फॉर एग्जांपल legal obligations is one of the major thing when it comes to pharmaceutical industries. The legal obligations that one company has to follow in India and legal obligations that one has to follow in Western countries are far apart, right? फिर ये एक चीज हो गई. So this was the first mistake that one of you did and no one even pointed this out कि यार एक बार हम रीजन आइडेंटिफाई कर देते हैं. ठीक है, do all of you agree on this part?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So moving ahead, so when it is talked about कि it is a pharmaceutical company is considering to expand its operation into a new international market, ठीक है, तो what you have to see is that कि एक pharmaceutical company बहुत चीजें बना सकती है. It could be into OTC drugs, it could be into red label drugs, it could be into जो आपके Pfizer बनाते थे वैक्सीन्स, it could be into vaccines. तो पहले वो सोचो कि आपकी कंपनी बना क्या रही है. जो आपकी कंपनी बना रही है उस हिसाब से आपकी स्ट्रैटेजीज चेंज होंगी. अ स्ट्रैटेजी ऑफ लॉन्चिंग अ ड्रग which is a vaccine and a drug which is a OTC, the strategies would differ. It would highly differ, right? क्योंकि OTC के लिए आपको इतना रेगुलेटरी प्रिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं चाहिए होता जितना आपको वैक्सीन्स के लिए चाहिए होता है. Also, vaccines are a mandate in most of the nations, but OTC drug are taken when there is a need. समझ रहे हो? तो अब आपको अपना प्रोडक्ट सोचना पड़ता है कि अगर मैं वैक्सीन के लिए सोच रहा हूं तो फिर मेरी स्ट्रैटेजी उस हिसाब से होगी कि आई जस्ट हैव टू कन्विंस द गवर्नमेंट एंड ऑल्सो फ्यू हॉस्पिटल्स, क्योंकि वैक्सीन लेना तो मैंडेट है. तो मेरे को अपने कस्टमर्स को नहीं बोलना कि आप आके वैक्सीन लो, आप आके वैक्सीन लो. वैक्सीन तो वो लोग लेंगे. द चैलेंज आई वुड बी फेसिंग इज कि अगर फाइजर या ऐसी कोई कंपनी की वैक्सीन ऑलरेडी वहां पे वेल सेटल्ड है उस पर्टिकुलर नेशन में, तो मेरी वैक्सीन कैसे वहां पे काम करेगी? देन जब इंसेंटिव्स और इन सब चीजों की बात आती है, तब हम एक बार को सोच सकते हैं कि ओटीसी ड्रग है. तो आज मान लेते कि कोई XYZ कंपनी है जो ऑलरेडी वेल स्टैब्लिश्ड है, एंड वहां पे इफ आई कुड हैव गिवन सम बेटर इंसेंटिव्स और आई कुड हैव डन अ बेटर मार्केटिंग, तो मेरा प्रोडक्ट ज्यादा डिमांड में आएगा. बिकॉज वो तो ऐसा है ना कि जाके मैंने चॉकलेट मांगी तो वैसे ही मैं जाके ओवर द काउंटर ड्रग्स भी मांग सकता हूँ. राइट, यहाँ तक आर यू ऑन द सेम पेज? Cool. So why I am telling you this point is that ki whenever you are given a case now, so there are very open-ended loops in the case. एंड आपकी रीजनिंग और आपकी सोचने की कैपेबिलिटी वहीं टेस्ट होगी कि हाउ वेल यू आर एबल टू ब्रिंग दैट केस इनटू स्कोप एंड देन स्टार्ट डिस्कशन. तो जो भी लोग केस को स्टार्ट करते हैं, इंस्टेड ऑफ डिस्कसिंग वॉट एवर इज रिटन इन द केस, ट्राई टू लाइक नैरो डाउन द केस इनटू अ सर्टेन स्कोप, इनटू द परव्यू ऑफ डिस्कशन. ओपन एंडेड केस होगा तो हमेशा डिस्कशंस ऐसे ही होंगे, बिकॉज यू हैव नॉट टेकन एनी डिस्कशन. तो मान लेते कि रक्षित ऐसा सोच रहे हैं कि ये हम यूएसए में स्टैब्लिश कर रहे हैं, लेकिन निशांत ऐसा सोच रहे हैं कि हम मिडल ईस्ट में स्टैब्लिश कर रहे हैं. दोनों के पॉइंट्स हमेशा कंफ्लिक्टिंग होंगे, बिकॉज देर इज नॉट अ सिंगल एजम्पशन दैट इज फॉलोड बाय होल ग्रुप. अभी तक सब लोग एग्री करते हैं? इफ यू हैव एनी काउंटर पॉइंट्स और एनी थिंग दैट यू डोंट एग्री, यू कैन कम अप एंड से इट लाउड. देर इज नो इशू इन दैट, राइट? तो उसके बाद क्या सीन होता है, जैसे आई टेक व्हाट विशेष हैज डन. जैसे देखो विशेष क्या होता है कि इफ यू आर समिंग अप और यू आर कंक्लूडिंग अ जीडी जो किसी टॉपिक के ऊपर था या किसी सिचुएशन के ऊपर था, तो जो ग्रुप का कंसेंसस है आप उस हिसाब से बोलो, देर इज नो इशू. लेकिन जब आपको एक टास्क दिया हुआ है ना, मतलब ये समझ लो कि दीज आर योर डिलीवरेबल्स, तो ब्रेक डाउन योर कंक्लूजन्स इनटू दिस डिलीवरेबल और उस तरीके से बोलो कि मार्केटिंग और एंट्री स्ट्रैटेजी में हमारी टीम का कंक्लूजन ये है, देन इन कम्पिटिटिव एनालिसिस हमारी टीम का कंक्लूजन ये है, फिर मार्केटिंग एंड सेल्स में हमारा टीम का कंक्लूजन ये है. तो इट विल शोकेस कि देयर वर 4 डिलीवरेबल्स एंड यू हैव वर्कड अपॉन ऑल द 4 डिलीवरेबल्स. आप रैंडमली पॉइंट्स थ्रो करोगे तो समझ नहीं आएगा कि कितने डिलीवरेबल्स चेक पॉइंट के थ्रू गए हैं और कितने मिस हो गए. राइट, सो ये 3 पॉइंट्स हो गए हैं. देन ऑल्सो अभिज्ञा, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट डीमैक्स स्ट्रैटेजी, राइट? आई डोंट नो कि डीमैक्स स्ट्रैटेजी यहाँ पे क्यों बोला गया, बिकॉज डीमैक्स स्ट्रैटेजी का रोल बहुत अलग होता है. राइट, सो डीमैक्स स्ट्रैटेजी कब यूज होगी कि फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर अ पर्सन, यू आर कंसल्टिंग विद मी फॉर सर्टेन इशू एंड देन आई एम टेलिंग यू कि अच्छा हम डिफाइन करते हैं प्रॉब्लम को, ठीक है, फिर उसके बाद हम डीमैक्स स्ट्रैटेजी अप्लाई करना शुरू करेंगे. बट जब प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट ऑलरेडी गिवन है और वो एक कॉर्पोरेट प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट है, ठीक है, तो डीमैक उतना ज्यादा यूज में नहीं आता है. पोर्टर 5 फोर्सेस वाज अ गुड ऑप्शन एसटीपी के लिए. जैसे अभिज्ञा ने एक पॉइंट मेंशन करा कि हमेशा आंख बंद करके एसटीपी नहीं लगा देना चाहिए. इफ इट इज अ वेल स्टैब्लिश्ड ब्रांड, देन ऑब्वियसली उनका सेगमेंटेशन ऑन पॉइंट है. तो दैट वाज अ वेरी वैलिड पॉइंट. आई विल डेफिनेटली गिव ब्राउनी पॉइंट्स टू इट कि बहुत ही अच्छा पॉइंट था कि जरूरी नहीं है कि एसटीपी एक टर्म है तो एसटीपी हर बार शुरू से एंड तक लगाया जाएगा, राइट? तो जैसे अब मतलब ये बहुत अच्छा एक काइंड ऑफ एक विजन था कि यस, इफ इट इज अ वेल स्टैब्लिश्ड कंपनी तो उनका सेगमेंटेशन तो अच्छा है, और वो किसी नए टेरेन्स में जाने के लिए अपना सेगमेंटेशन तो चेंज नहीं करेंगे, बिकॉज दे हैव डेवलप्ड द प्रोडक्ट बेसिस ऑन द सेगमेंटेशन, राइट? तो सेगमेंटेशन चेंज नहीं होगा, टारगेटिंग एंड पोजिशनिंग माइट चेंज. बिकॉज फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि अब हम इंडिया का अगर एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, तो इंडिया में क्या होता है, जैसे व्हाट हैबिट वी हैव कि अगर हमको कुछ बहुत ही क्रॉनिक इलनेस नहीं है तो वी माइट गो टू मेडिकल स्टोर, विल टेल द गाय आर प्रॉब्लम, और वो हमको बोल देता है कि अच्छा आप ये 4 मेडिसिन ले लो एंड इट विल सफाइज. बट इन वेस्टर्न नेशंस ऐसा नहीं होता है. वहां पे जब तक प्रॉपर डॉक्टर्स प्रिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं है, थिंग्स वोंट वर्क. सो हेयर कम्स द पॉइंट ऑफ टारगेटिंग कि यहाँ हमारे टारगेट पॉइंट्स अलग हो सकते हैं एंड किसी और नेशन में टारगेट पॉइंट्स अलग हो सकते हैं, राइट?
मेरे को एक चीज पूछी थी डीमैक स्ट्रेटजी की, क्योंकि इसमें लिखा है कि एफिशिएंट सप्लाई चेन स्ट्रेटजी टू सपोर्ट द एक्सपेंशन. सो मैं एक्सपेंशन के लिए कह रही थी कि हम एक इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में जा रहे हैं तो उसमें एक्सपेंशन कैसे करेंगे. तो दैट इज व्हाई आई अप्लाइड द डीमैक स्ट्रेटजी की हम डिफाइन करके और मेजर करके ये सब चीजें.
यार एक्सपेंशन पे लगा सकते हो, बट आपको ये देखना है ना एक्सपेंशन है किस तरीके का. मतलब अगर मैं यहाँ होता तो मैं मतलब पेस्टल लगाना ज्यादा प्रेफर करता इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग डीमैक, बिकॉज पेस्टल इज समथिंग वेरी गुड कि आपको पॉलिटिकल चीजें भी देखनी है, फिर सोशल वहां पे चीजें कैसी हैं, है ना, और आपको इकोनॉमिकल और ये सब चीजें भी देखनी है. मैं नहीं बोल रहा पूरा पेस्टल लगा दो, बट उसमें से पॉइंट्स उठा सकते थे, राइट? कि सोशल चीजें कैसी हैं वहां पे. ऑल्सो एक चीज ऐसा है कि हम कभी जब भी फार्मा में आएगा तो ऐसा नहीं है ना कि जैसे किसी ने बोला कि पैरासीटामोल हम दे देते हैं, राइट? तो अब हमको देखना है कि वहां पे वो ड्रग्स प्रिस्क्राइब भी करी जाती है. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि अब आपको पूरा ग्लोब का नॉलेज होना चाहिए, बट आपको ये सब चीजें क्लियरली मेंशन कर देनी चाहिए पहले से ही कि वी विल टेक इनटू मेजर कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ड्रग्स आर प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन दैट नेशन, एंड हमारा एक कोहोर्ट जाएगा उस ड्रग्स का उस नेशन में। ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरा मेडिक्योर जाके उस नेशन में स्टैब्लिश होगा, हमेशा स्टेप बाय स्टेप स्टैब्लिशमेंट होता है, ठीक है। तो मान लो कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर केलॉग्स भी था तो या पेप्सिको भी था, तो ऐसा नहीं है उन्होंने आके पूरा प्लांट डाल दिया और सब कुछ बिल्कुल ऑन फायर चला दिया। उन्होंने मार्केट स्टडी करा, उन्होंने कुछ ओवरलैपिंग प्रोडक्ट्स को स्टडी करा, उन्होंने पहले वो प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च करे। आफ्टर दोस प्रोडक्ट्स वर लॉन्च देन दे काइंड ऑफ डिड दे अगेन डिड अ मार्केट रिसर्च, उसके बेसिस पे उन्होंने फर्दर प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च करे, राइट। तो मतलब दीज वर फ्यू पॉइंट्स दैट यू कैन टेक इनटू पिक्चर। और किसी को कोई डिस्कशन करना है और एनी थिंग रिलेटेड टू केस यू वांट टू आस्क और एनीथिंग, यू कैन कम ऑफ म्यूट एंड डू दैट। ऑलराइट, सो शशांक एक, हाँ बोलो।
मेरे को एक चीज पूछनी थी, जैसे शशांक ने वो क्लाउड किचन वाला और डाइवर्सिटी वाला जो पॉइंट रखा, मतलब वो वैसे देखा जाए तो अच्छे पॉइंट्स हैं, बट अगेन हम फ्रेमवर्क्स ही लगाएं या फिर मतलब इधर
नहीं,
उधर
ऐसा ऐसा नहीं होता कि फ्रेमवर्क्स ही लगाओ, बट अगर ऐसा है कि फ्रेमवर्क लग सकता है तो जरूर लगाओ। कोई इसलिए नहीं बोलता फ्रेमवर्क्स लगाने के लिए कि फ्रेमवर्क नहीं लगाया तो गलत हो जाएगा, बट ये कि अगर फ्रेमवर्क्स यूज नहीं होंगे ना तो सब लोग इधर उधर भागने लगेंगे। तो इससे अच्छा है कि एक दो अच्छे फ्रेमवर्क्स उठाओ और उस फ्रेमवर्क पे डिस्कशन करो, क्योंकि उसमें ये होगा कि एक तो तुमको पता है फ्रेमवर्क्स के बारे में, है ना, तो तुम अच्छे से उसको यूज कर पाओगे। तुम रैंडमली कुछ भी बोलोगे तो उसमें चांसेस है कि यू माइट बी राइट, यू माइट बी रॉन्ग। बट इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट पोर्टर्स 5 फोर्सेस, तो उसमें तुमको पता चल गया कि अच्छा भाई मेरे को 5 चीजें हैं, मेरा कंपेटिटर हो गया, न्यू एंट्रेंट्स हो गए, ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग वो कंपेटिटर्स में आ गया, फिर बायर्स हो गए, सप्लायर्स हो गए, ठीक है। तो तुमको पता है कि भाई अच्छा इन सब चीजों पे मेरे को बात करनी है, तो रैंडमली चीजें नहीं चलेंगी, राइट। ऑल्सो शशांक, वन थिंग दैट आई वुड लाइक टू मेंशन इज दैट कि तुम्हारी ना स्पीड बहुत ज्यादा है बोलने की, ठीक है। सो इवन आई वाज आल्सो मिसिंग आउट ऑन फ्यू पॉइंट्स, तो ट्राई टू मतलब ड्रॉप डाउन योर स्पीड अ बिट। मेरे को पता है कि ऐसा क्यों होता है, मतलब देर इज अ फियर कि ऐसा ना हो कि कोई और काट दे और मेरा पॉइंट बीच में ही रह जाए, बट आई नो दैट यू आर प्रेटी कॉन्फिडेंट व्हेन यू आर स्पीकिंग, तो कोई काटेगा तो नहीं, और काटेगा भी तो यू कैन मतलब काइंड ऑफ से दैट पर्सन की प्लीज लेट मी कंप्लीट। इसमें कुछ गलत नहीं होता। इफ यू समवन इज कटिंग यू डाउन इन द बिटवीन ऑफ द जीडी, यू कैन क्लियरली मेंशन कि आई हैव नॉट कंप्लीटेड माय पॉइंट, प्लीज लेट मी कंप्लीट। उसके बाद भी वो नहीं रुकता तो तुम्हारा पॉइंट नहीं कटेगा, उसका ही कटेगा, ठीक है। कूल, राइट। सो एक और केस करते हैं डिस्कस, ठीक है, उसके बाद विल रैप अप। तो बाकी अगर कोई ज्वाइन करना चाहता है तो वो अपना कैमरा ऑन कर ले, वरना सेम पीपल वुड बी द पार्ट ऑफ द जीडी अगेन।
I have a question. So, I mean, do we have to mention the framework that we are using, or we just
हाँ
start
हाँ हाँ,
only drawing
ऑब्वियसली ऑब्वियस
analysis?
नो ऑब्वियसली यू हैव टू मेंशन कि बिकॉज सो द थिंग इज दैट कि फर्स्टली यू विल मेंशन फ्रेमवर्क, यू विल टॉक इन 1 or 2 लाइंस अबाउट फ्रेमवर्क्स, एंड देन यू विल स्टार्ट स्पीकिंग। तो उससे पता चल जाएगा कि व्हाई यू आर यूजिंग दैट फ्रेमवर्क। अब ऐसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए कि रैंडमली यू आर यूजिंग एनी फ्रेमवर्क, इट शुड बी क्लियर एंड विजिबल कि व्हाई XYZ फ्रेमवर्क इज बीइंग यूज्ड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर पिक्चर, ठीक है। तो people have left, I guess. Avinash, are you there in the GD or no?
Sorry, I have some other tasks lined up actually, so I'm
Okay,
really I will participate in the next city.
ठीक है, cool. Just a second. All right, so अब जैसे we have only 5 people left, so we can do a extempore. So I'll paste the case again. There would be one deliverable only. you will get 1 minute to think about the case, and then I'll call out your names, and you would be having around about 90 seconds to speak. All right. Cool. Your time starts. All right, Shashank, you can start.
Yeah, hi. So we are talking about fresh foods, like the FMCG company who lost one of the leading flagship product on the line. So one of the things like we can start with this is we can start with the market analysis, like what kind of why our product is failing, and why the product that has been on the market that is in market and leading, and the most of the time it is actually failing, and we can do on that. One thing that we can do is like we can revamp, and we can have a relaunch of the product. Along with that, like relaunching the product, and we can analyze what kind of shortcomings that we have from the analysis that we did in the market, and we can work on that, and we can relaunch it with the marketing strategy. We can showcase a thing um, the things that are lacking. I'm sorry, can be someone else go. Sorry
Nishant.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, adding to what Shashank just said, that Fresh Foods is an FMCG company that has seen its decline in sales over the past year. So what I suggest here is, since the whole product line is uh, facing a decline, so I would suggest first we would study the product line, basically seeing what are the products and where do they stand about their market share and their current market growth. We can use a BCG matrix here, considering the fact that it would tell us about what are the products that really need to be worked upon, and what are the products that should be left by not giving effort on them if they are not providing the uh, appropriate market share and the market growth. Talking about the engagement strategies that we can use to enhance customer loyalties, first of all, checking on the uh, brand recall of our customers, checking if they are really familiar with what are our propositions and value propositions, and how do they relate to our value propositions, and that's all.
Rakshit.
Okay, so talking about Fresh Foods, which is a well-known FMCG company. So the flagship product has seen a decline in the sales. This means that there is something that they have done wrong. Hence, the flagship product, that is the best-selling product for them, is on a decline in sales. So talking about the reasons that could be potentially for the same, that maybe a competitor that has come up, or a similar competitor that has been in the line of the industry has come up with such a product, or such a price penetration, that the company's price is not competitive to the same, or the quality of the product has seen a decline in the same, that the quality is not being able to match the same as that of the competitor. Or also it can be a cultural change, that there have been change in the preferences of the customer, that for example, there is a sugar kind of a thing that the customers are preferring not to intake. Hence, and the product consists of the sugar. Hence, there have been a change in the preference of the customer. Also, it can be a cultural shift on the consumer's end, not the mistake of the company, but a cultural shift from the consumer's end. Also, a flagship product means that there was a stickiness from the customer's side. Hence, there is not in the there is a trust from the customer side. So loyalty will not be an issue to regain if the product is worked upon. And talking about the
Abhigya,
image improvisation and the
Uh, since uh, the since the flagship product line of fresh fruits is is having decline, so the strategies that I would like to impose for the customer engagement would be to properly position the product in the target segment that we have chosen through the points of parity and the points of difference. So our points of difference should be well defined to gain the customer loyalty. For example, we are a chocolate if we are a chocolate piggy company, so our points of difference can be using cashew nuts and using different nuts. So our difference in our target segment should be properly analyzed. And coming to the strategies, we can incentivize the customer through QR code so that we can find the market share. And then we can use this famous example of PepsiCo, where PepsiCo actually made the customers to try out their products, and then the customers were basically choosing the different products that which one is more tasty. So we can use these some of the strategies to gain back the customer loyalty.
Vishesh.
So as we know that it's the fresh food company's flagship product, so I believe that basically there might be several reasons due to which the company's market share is reducing, and it is a huge time frame that it is mentioned, as we see that it is about the past 1 year. So the problem can be of various types, like it can be the quality of the product has declined, either the price at which we are delivering the quantity might not be adequate for the customer, so is the reason the customers might have shifted to some other product or something like that. Then there can also be a certain problem in the logistic as well, like we are not able to cater to the increasing demand maybe, or the logistic has some issues, so which needs to be thought upon. Then we can accordingly plan a strategy to gain the trust of the customer back again. Also, there can be one more thing that we are earlier we used to advertise, and our campaigns were doing well, and now that our campaigns are like not doing that well and the customer is not relating much, so the customer is starting to lose interest. So we four things that can be looked upon and worked accordingly to me is the logistics, the product itself, the quality, the price and quantity at which we are offering, and the advertising campaign through which the brand recall can be worked upon.
All right. ठीक है तो I'll just give generic feedback instead of giving personalized one, और कोई point होगा तो I'll point that out. ठीक है तो firstly you have to understand कि there is difference between structured GD and extempore. तो what is the difference कि extempore में you are an individual person talking on your own. In structured GD, there is a list that is given, and after one by one, you have to speak up. So, Nishant, what you did was that कि you continued what Shashank said. You have to understand कि यहाँ पे extempore चल रहा है, ना कि GD चल रहा है, right? So, whenever you are asked to speak in extempore, you have to give your own point instead of continuing anyone else's point. So, second common mistake that most of you did was that you were kind of bent to discuss about कि problem क्या हो सकता है ना? किसी ने बोला ही नहीं आपसे आप प्रॉब्लम ढूंढो या प्रॉब्लम निकाल के लाओ. आप ये देखो, आप ये समझो कि इन अ कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड ना देयर आर डिफरेंट सेगमेंट्स डिवाइडेड. प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफिकेशन एक टीम का काम है, प्रॉब्लम डीबगिंग दूसरी टीम का काम है, डीबग को इम्प्लीमेंट करना तीसरी टीम का काम है, द सर्वे ऑफ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड हाउ इज योर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इज गोइंग ऑन फोर्थ टीम का काम है. So the role that you were given here was not to find the problem, but to debug the problem, to strategize how can you debug the problem. So there was kind of I won't say it was right or wrong, but if you have only 90 seconds to speak, then it had no sense speaking upon कि ये problem हो सकता है, वो problem हो सकता है. Bro, they have identified the problem कि customer, मतलब चलो ये भी छोड़ो, identified the problem भी नहीं if, but they have given you the lines where you have to debug the problem. And that was based on customer engagement and loyalty. ठीक है. अब ये बात हमेशा याद रखना, कभी भी कस्टमर एक्विजिशन की बात नहीं होनी चाहिए वेन एवर यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट लॉयल्टी का थिंग. हमेशा लॉयल्टी एक रिटेन्ड कस्टमर के ऊपर ही बात होगी. तो किसी ने ऐसा पॉइंट नहीं बोला कि फर्स्टली वी शुड लुक टू द पीपल हु आर स्टिकिंग टू आवर प्रोडक्ट. ऑब्वियसली देयर इज अ डिक्लाइन, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि पीपल हैव स्टॉप्ड बाइंग योर प्रोडक्ट. देयर इज अ सीन कि कल 100 लोग खरीद रहे थे, आज 80 लोग खरीद रहे हैं. सो आपका पहला टारगेट शुड बी कि जो 80 है ना, डैमेज कंट्रोल करना है आपको. द थिंग दैट यू शुड बी टेकिंग इनटू पिक्चर इज दैट कि 80 से 75 ही होना चाहिए, कल 80 से 60 नहीं जाना चाहिए. ठीक है. सो अराउंड दैट दोज थिंग्स यू शुड बिल्ड योर ब्रांड लॉयल्टी कैंपेन्स की. मान लो कि हमारे जो एक्सक्लूसिव कस्टमर्स हैं उनको उनको तो okay, so second thing that can come into picture is whenever you have to build a targeted loyalty ना, तो हमेशा BTL strategies ही होंगी. आप targeted emails भेजोगे, आप targeted WhatsApp messages भेजोगे, या आप targeted notifications भेजोगे. जैसे कि अगर आप लोग Zomato या Swiggy यूज करते हो तो उनके कॉमन मैसेजेस नहीं जाते सबको. जैसे कि आपने Zomato खोला, आपने ऑर्डर नहीं करा, यू वर सर्फिंग समथिंग, यू वर काइंड ऑफ कंटेम्पलेटिंग व्हाट शुड आई बाय, बट यू डिडंट बॉट समथिंग. दे हैव अ सेपरेट नोटिफिकेशन फॉर यू. आपने एक हफ्ते से जोमेटो खोला ही नहीं है, दे हैव अ सेपरेट नोटिफिकेशन फॉर यू. सो यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई कि आप कौन से कोहोर्ट को टारगेट कर रहे हो और उनको आप टारगेटेड मैसेजिंग करोगे. सो येस, सम ऑफ यू टॉक्ड अबाउट ब्रांड रिकॉल. येस, 100% इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, बट हर इंसान के लिए ब्रांड रिकॉल जनरेट करना का तरीका अलग होता है. समझ रहे हो? फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि निशांत और रक्षित आज दोस्त हैं एंड विशेष उनका दोस्त नहीं है, तो विशेष और निशांत के बीच में इंटरेक्शन करवाने का स्ट्रैटेजी वुड बी डिफरेंट, एंड निशांत एंड रक्षित के बीच में इंटरेक्शन करवाने का स्ट्रैटेजी वुड बी डिफरेंट. सो फर्स्टली आई हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई कि मेरा अब जॉब क्या है, मतलब डू आई हैव टू काइंड ऑफ सेट अप इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन रक्षित और निशांत और विशेष. उसके बेसिस पे आई वुड से कि अब मेरा टारगेट क्या होना चाहिए, मेरे टारगेटेड मार्केटिंग क्या होनी चाहिए. तो इफ यू गाइज हैव टाइम, काइंडली रीड अपॉन फ्यू टॉपिक्स. वन वुड बी जियो टारगेटिंग. ठीक है. ऑल्सो सेकेंड वुड बी टारगेटेड मार्केटिंग कैंपेन्स. एंड थर्ड वुड आई वुड सजेस्ट यू टू रीड अपॉन केस स्टडीज जिसपे कम्युनिटी बिल्डिंग पे बहुत ज्यादा काम करा गया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल केस स्टडी ऑफ हार्ले डेविडसन, केस स्टडी ऑफ मैकडोनल्ड्स, केस स्टडी ऑफ कोका कोला. दैट वो लोग कम्युनिटी कैसे बिल्ड करते हैं. वेन एवर वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट लॉयल्टी, तो उसमें सबसे पहली चीज आती है कम्युनिटी बिल्डिंग. ऑल्सो अगर आप लोगों ने अभी तक नहीं पढ़ा, यू शुड रीड अबाउट CBBE, दैट इज कंज्यूमर बेस्ड ब्रांड इक्विटी मॉडल. ठीक है. तो वो पूरा मॉडल ही बात करता है अबाउट बिल्डिंग लॉयल्टी. इट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम सेलियंस एंड इट एंड्स ऑन रेजोनेंस, कस्टमर रेजोनेंस, राइट. सो कस्टमर रेजोनेंस इज काइंड ऑफ सिनोनिमस टू कस्टमर लॉयल्टी. तो अगर आपसे कहीं भी लॉयल्टी के ऊपर बात करी जा रही है, यू कैन काइंड ऑफ ब्रिंग इन सम पॉइंट्स फ्रॉम CBBE. ऑलराइट. तो ये एक चीज हो सकती है. देन हम आते हैं कस्टमर एंगेजमेंट के ऊपर. उसके ऊपर जिसने जो भी बोला सही था, क्योंकि कस्टमर एंगेजमेंट में कुछ सही गलत नहीं होता. कोई बोलता है कि हम लोग एड कैंपेन्स चलाना चाहते हैं टू एंगेज न्यू कस्टमर. ऑल राइट, दैट्स गुड. कोई बोलता है कि हम लोग ऑफलाइन कियोस्क सेटअप करना चाहते हैं टू एंगेज कस्टमर्स. हम लोग बंडलिंग मॉडल पे जैसे बंडलिंग प्राइसिंग सुना होगा आप सबने. ठीक है. तो हम लोग बंडलिंग प्राइसिंग भी कर सकते हैं टू अट्रैक्ट आवर कस्टमर, क्योंकि FMCG है ना यार. FMCG में ऐसा होता है, 5 रुपए का भी फर्क पड़ता है ना, तो कस्टमर आपके प्रोडक्ट की तरफ आ जाता है कई बार. दिस हैड बीन केस विद यू पीपल ऑल्सो, कि आप कुछ खरीदने गए, सर्फ खरीदने गए, या फॉर एग्जाम्पल ऑयल खरीदने गए, 10-5 रुपए का भी फर्क आता है ना, यू काइंड ऑफ डाइवर्ट. तो अंडरस्टैंड कि इट इज FMCG. एक एक रुपए से बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, बिकॉज देयर आर इंडस्ट्री स्टैंडर्डाइज प्राइसेस गिवन टू एवरीथिंग. अगर 10 रुपए की चॉकलेट हर जगह बिक रही है और आप 8 की बेच पा रहे हो, डेफिनेटली यू हैव एज ओवर योर कॉम्पिटिटर्स. सो अब यहीं पे फार्मेसी का केस होता है. मैं कभी प्राइसिंग के ऊपर डिस्कशन नहीं करता, क्योंकि फार्मेसी पे लोग कभी नहीं सोचते, वो 500 की जगह 1000 भी दे देंगे, क्वालिटी इज ऑफर्ड. बट FMCG में कई बार प्राइस पॉइंट इज काइंड ऑफ डिफरेंशिएटिंग फैक्टर. तो this is also a suggestion ki read about different industries and what is important in those industries. Is the quality more important or is the price more important? और ऐसा है कि दोनों important नहीं है, brand engagement is important. All right. Cool. So this is all from my side. I hope you got to learn something new. If not new, you had a good experience discussing on these two cases. We would be keeping similar kind of GDs going ahead also. And also, I would like to discuss about that PrepBee is having a new offering that if you have a group in your college and you kind of want to have a GD, so you can come up with a team of 10. You can mail PrepBee, the mail ID would be given in the description box. You can mail us that you want to schedule a GD with us. We will come up with a case. We will come up with panelists pertaining your demands and we can keep up the GDs. All right. So thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Wait,
Thanks, Dev.
एक क्वेश्चन